You like compost?
Yeah.
A mountain of compost. How are you doing? I'm Martin from Gardens for Life. In this video I'm going to show you mushroom compost and what it looks like when it's fresh and when it's about a year matured as well. So mushroom compost is a great source of fertility. You can see we got two huge piles here behind me. And we primarily use mushroom compost here to add fertility to our gardens. We don't make much of our own compost. We use all of our clippings and things like that from the garden to make insect piles instead. And that's another technique. That's a technique for another video, I should say. But mushroom compost is really good, and it's actually also sterile as well. It doesn't have any weed seeds in it, and it's generally speaking safe to use without any harmful chemicals in it. How do we know that? Because we actually know the owners of the mushroom farms that we're buying the mushroom compost from, and they do soil samples as well. We also know that mushroom compost is good because the worms and all of the soil life inhabit it after only about 2 or 3 months once we apply it to our gardens. So if it's good enough for the soil life, it's good enough for us, like even to eat the vegetables that come from our gardens. Besides that, we've been using mushroom compost for well over 20 years now, and it's great. It's a great resource to have, and it's totally underutilized. Let us know if you have any questions about compost down below. Thank you. Good girl. Thanks. What about up the pile? So this compost here is very fresh. You'll find that it's quite lumpy, but also it'll be steaming away. Like when you have it in a big pile like that, especially in the winter time, you'll find that there's actually steam coming off it for the first month or so, even a few weeks. If it's the winter and you're ever cold in the garden, simply walk onto the pile and just bury your wellies. Just stand there like that, and you'll warm up. It's a nice way to warm up your feet. So this compost here is not ready to use in the gardens. It's too acidic. We would have to leave it maturing for at least 3 months. I would recommend at least 3 months. But in the summertime it could go quicker as well. If you keep it in a big pile like this, it actually breaks down much quicker rather than if you spread it straight away. There's no point in spreading it straight away. Just get your delivery driver to dump it somewhere where it's not in the way. Definitely keep your compost in a pile for at least 3 months, ideally 6 months or even longer, just to help it break down a bit more. And you'll see the end result here now. This is probably about 14-15 month old compost, and it's even a miracle that we have some of it here and we haven't utilized it yet. But you can see here how crumbly it is. It's the perfect texture for your plants and for your gardens. And you can see how it's just literally black gold, and there's worms in it too. The longer you let it break down for, the better it becomes. That's kind of the whole idea with no-dig gardening. Every year your soil improves. Year after year, your fertility, your soil life, your diversity, all of the biodiversity in the soil, and your insects as well during the growing season. But the idea is you also want to try and keep your insects overwintering in your garden, and then you get them back early in spring straight away with all of the early pollinator foods like the various different flowers and especially willows that flower early with their catkins. No-dig gardening is so simple. All you have to do is smother the existing vegetation or the so-called weeds and the grasses, of course. Then you simply cover it with matured compost, like at least 3 to 6 month old compost. And once you have your compost layer down, you can just stick your seedlings into the compost, and that's it. Off you go. They grow for the whole rest of the season, and that's all there's to it. It's that simple. To maintain your no-dig gardens, all you have to do is cover them with a bit more compost every year, maybe an inch or two. And if you put on enough compost to begin with, maybe say 8 to 10 inches worth, you don't actually have to bother topping it up at all for the first 3 years. But it definitely would be advantageous to top it up a bit after that. So if you're only putting on 4 to 6 inches in the beginning of well-rotted compost, it is worth putting an extra inch or two on every year. Probably in springtime, really any time of the year, but springtime is probably the best time to put it on. But that's debatable, whether or not the winter or the autumn is the best time. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day. you're only feeding the soil life year round anyway with the compost layer, and that kind of helps to insulate it as well. Your compost mulch insulates it a little bit in the winter time. That keeps the soil life active for longer. That's all I've got to say for the moment about compost, but there's so much more to say, but in another video. We don't want to go too long here. If you have any questions about compost or no-dig gardening, put them down below, whatever platform you're watching this on. We're also on Rumble and Odyssey and YouTube as well. See you later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Aren't you a good girl? Aren't you a good girl? A good girl.